love Jesus. Yes, we love Jesus. Yes, we love Jesus. That's why we worship him. I want to thank you all for being here this morning. This is my first time preaching a lesson to you. And I'm going to use the word as much as possible. So if you have a counter, you want to give me a total at the end, that'd be great. So I was talking to Donnie. There's number one. I was talking to Donnie on Friday, and he told me he was sick, and I said, I'll do a lesson on Sunday. So I started putting one together, and I had a name for it, and it was really like I want to say it was short-sighted at first. It was going to be titled "Dig Your Well Before You're Thirsty," and I put it all together and started writing it out. I started putting it together, and it was this morning that I said, "What am I thinking? It shouldn't be that. It should be God digs your well before you're thirsty." And I was like, man, that's way better. I wish I had way more time. I would have done that one way better. Because, like God prepares things in advance for us that we're not sure of. And man, I tell you, wherever you were this morning, you got to get back on. You got to get on YouTube and watch the Rainier's class this morning. It was fantastic. And he was talking about so many things, and I'm like, Rainier, you stole my lesson. No, he did awesome. And I love being in that class. But have you ever been unprepared for an event? I think that charges a lot of us. I'm gonna try to use the clicker here and see if it works for me. All right. Have you ever been asked to do something you thought you could not do? Truth right there. All right. Have you ever prepared for something that never happens? Man, I was thinking about it today, Rainier, about Joseph, and I'm like, man, all those years he's like preparing. What is he preparing for? Anyway, so we'll get to that maybe some other time. So does God call those that are sitting around doing nothing? Does he do that? Is that who he calls? Or does he call people that cannot do the task that he wants them to do? Like, these are thoughts that I'm thinking about as going through, like, preparing for a lesson. And, I think, okay, time and again, God just calls perfect people to do his will. And I'm like, something doesn't add up here. I got a better one. God calls flawed people to do his will, because that's who I am. I'm flawed. We all have a flaw in our life, in who we are. And sometimes we're reminded of it, not by God. I don't think God wants to remind us of our flaws. I think it's Satan. I think he gets in our way and reminds us, you can't do that. What are you kidding? That's not you. Has God ever called those that have failed in the past to succeed in something he wants to happen? I have a short list. People, nobody in here, so don't worry. All right, you're safe for now. Unless Donnie's sick next week, then you're on. No, so let's talk about Rahab for a second. Quick moment here. She was a prostitute. That's not like high on the list of like to-dos. All right, she wasn't that great. Let's talk about Gideon. All right, he was a coward. He looked for any excuse to escape the plans that God had for him, making God prove himself over and over. That's Gideon. How about Samson? He was stubborn. He didn't take the advice of his parents, all right? And he was quick-tempered and easily drawn into a fight. These are some good people, right? There's some great people. I got some more, all right? How about Joseph? He was a spoiled brat who took some pleasure in rubbing it into his brothers that he was the favorite, and he could not keep his ego in check. Well, how about David? Jeremy, this list is getting pretty long. David, he was a lousy father. One son raped a daughter, another son murdered the first son before trying to take the throne from David, and David did nothing to punish them. Paul, Well, he hunted Christians down and stoned them, had them stoned to death. How about Abraham? He did not trust God's promise for him. Instead of waiting for the covenant to be fulfilled, he went and got his Egyptian maidservant, Hagar, pregnant. How about Moses? A straight up murderer. These are the people that are in the Bible? These are the people that God was preparing for something? You know, sometimes we sit on the sidelines waiting for someone else who's more experienced to lead the way. I want to talk about the Israelite army for a moment. When they were facing Goliath, and the Israelite army standing there, and you got the Philistines, but Goliath is the one that keeps coming out to them. Were they really facing Goliath? Or were they facing themselves? Were they saying, I can't go out there and do that. I'm not strong enough. Look at that guy. He's massive. What am I? Who are they waiting for? Anyone other than them to do it. Anyone. It took a boy with his faith in God for them to conquer their fears. They were looking at themselves, they were looking at their lives, and they didn't see it. They didn't see that God was there. But even before that moment, David was preparing himself, killing bears, killing lions, protecting the sheep. Did he know he was being prepared to go kill Goliath? Did he know all those steps that were in front of him? Let's look at Rahab again. Rahab helped the Israelites gain a foothold into the promised land. Gideon, God used him to deliver the Israelites from the hands of the Midianites and the people, and they enjoyed a period of peace. Samson, God gave him the ability to fight the Philistines and bring glory to him. Joseph, he interpreted dreams and was able to navigate the entire country and surrounding ones from famine. So many lives would have been lost. What about David? God testified concerning him, I have found David, son of Jesse, a man of my own heart. He will do everything I want him to do. This is David we're talking about. Yet God had a plan for him. Paul, well, he might have been one of the most important Christians, writing so much of the New Testament. Abraham, God gave him wisdom, and he was faithful to God and protected his family and did what God told him to do. Moses, well, he was God's instrument to free them from slavery 400 years. I mean, they have all these problems, yet here they are leading. They're not concerned about what they did in the past. They're looking forward to what they can do. Who are you waiting for? Are you waiting for God to call you, text you, DM you? I mean, who? Do you even want God to call you? Here's another one. Do you want to be callable, just not called? Like that person who says, call me if you ever need anything, but their phone, they never pick up. Yeah, help, I need help moving. New phone, who dis? You know? Do you want to be that person? Each of the people mentioned before were prepared by God for the tasks ahead of them. But how does he prepare them? Did they even realize, like I said before, that they were being prepared? Was God digging a well for them before they were thirsty? Well, he prepares us in different ways. We're all unique, so we're going to get our different share of preparation. Some have different abilities. Some are gifted mentally, physically, both. There's all different ways that we're blessed, and God chooses different ways to teach us. God often uses multiple streams, okay, for your preparation. Challenges through work, school, activities in your life, day-to-day mundane things that you think are mundane, but they're prepping you and preparing you for something greater. Some of the preparation only makes sense looking backwards. Can't see it, just don't know. I don't know where it is in my slides, but this reminds me of, if we were to know that our task in life was to run a marathon, like a literal marathon, you know that is your task in life, that's what God has prepped you to do, then going out and running, endurance, sit-ups, all the other stuff that you would need to physically be able to perform the task, you would be okay with. We would understand. We would say, yeah, I know why I got to wake up at 6 a.m. and get running. I know why I got to eat healthier. I know this, because we understand that. But sometimes looking back, we don't understand. Sometimes when we look back is only when we understand what God has for us. But not all that preparation is fun or positive. You know, I ain't getting up at 5 in the morning to run or 6 in the morning to run. That's not positive. I don't want to have to step up here and talk, because that makes me nervous. You know, I don't want to have to lead a prayer group somewhere. That makes me nervous, you know, but God is preparing you for something if you want to take the call, if you want him to call you. We don't always stop and think in the midst of the storm, for the crushing weight of preparation for the journey ahead. And this is one I've said before, and it is something that I have to keep remembering. James chapter 1 talks about this. I love the book of James. It is literally my favorite book in the Bible. It teaches me how to be a Christian man. It teaches you how to be who you're supposed to be. And he says in the first chapter, he says, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work, so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything." I see that pure joy, and I'm like, man, God has no wiggle room. He gives me no way out. Pure joy. I don't know if you can think of a time in your life when you had pure joy, but this is the angle that James goes. He wants you to know that even in the midst of it, you still have to have joy. Joy for the preparation. I mean, what if growing up, your parents were like, I don't care what you do, and I'm not going to help you in any way? What kind of child, what kind of an adult would you have grown up to ever be? Would you have grown up to be an actual adult? Or would you still be a child? God is teaching us what we need when we need it. But it's not only the known, okay? Not only the known that you're being prepared for. Like I said, running a race or weightlifting, if you had to lift a certain amount of weight by a certain age, whatever, you would know that task, but that's the known stuff. Those are the simple things. You've also been prepared by God for journeys you didn't know were going to be before you. That's God digging your well for you. So when you're thirsty, he's ready. You're ready. God, these are some things that I trust in. I trust that God knows where you're going. He knows where it's going to happen. And he knows what you need. You have to trust that God will meet you at the time in which you need him. And that's one of those things that when you look back in the past and you say, man, God was there right when I needed him. And we say it like, I can't believe it. Like, God is going to be there for you. And you have to know that he's preparing you for that journey ahead. every downfall you take, every mistake that you make that God doesn't remind you of, but that Satan does, you need to remember that God is preparing you for that journey ahead. God has some promises here, and I'm going to tell you them because he said them, so we can all agree that God will not abandon us. In Matthew 28:20, he says, and Jesus says, and surely I am with you always to the very end of the age. Well, that's Jesus, and he's not going to abandon us. Look further. God will provide us with people in our lives to help bear our burdens. Galatians 6 verse 2 says, carry each other's burdens, and in this way you will fulfill the law of Christ. Well, that's not too hard. Being with people, gathering together and helping them. I mean, think of the struggles that you've had, and don't dwell on the fact that you made mistakes, but help other people through theirs. The journey of 1,000 miles starts with one step. I used to think it was a journey of 1,000 steps, but then apparently it's 1,000 miles. And I'm like, that's even further than I thought. That's way further. I like steps. Let's get my steps in today. All right. But really it's 1,000 miles because it's so far and it seems like it could never be done. But that's because you haven't taken one step. You haven't ventured out. God digging your well before you're thirsty is preparing your life for when he calls. God doesn't call a wrong number. You just have to pick up and start your journey. Who are you waiting for? Do you want him to call you? That's my lesson for today. If there's anybody who wants to accept Christ, who wants to start that journey, taking that one step, come forward today. Water's there. It's clean. I literally have no idea how to end this lesson. Hadn't even thought or considered what I would say at the end. I appreciate everybody's time here today. And may God bless us. Thank you.